All right, we are going to start a new series. This is called more of the teaching series to go in conjunction with the season 1 of the beginner series. I've noticed some of you have been online trying to teach other students how to do Wing Chun, so I thought this was necessary for me to help you along your path to understanding what you're doing. So I'm going to go in conjunction with season 1, step by step. I think there's 22, 23 episodes. So each one I'm going to go link with that. So the first day we did YGKYM. So I'm going to go over some teaching tips regarding YGKYM. So what I need is a volunteer with a really bad stance. Negron.
Hey guys.
Alright, before we even get into the stats, let me give you some tips regarding teaching. Here's rule number 1. Always teach the truth. What does that mean? That means teach only what you know. Alright, you can't ask your student to do something that you yourself can't do. Alright, so if you're asking, oh, how come you can't do this, but you can't do it yourself? Then obviously, ask them only within the limitations of what you can do yourself, okay? And remember, if you want to understand Wing Chun, you do have to teach, because you can be the best student, but the best student still won't develop the skill, because until what you basically are doing when you only learn from your teacher is you're basically being a parrot. That means he says something and you mimic what he says. So that's only a partial digestion of what you're getting from your teacher. So in other words, if he tells me this is how you do it, and I say it the same way to Negron, that means I never learned it for myself. I just copied it. But once he says it to me, and then I say it in my own way, my own expression of understanding how I mentally understood what my teacher taught to me, then you make it yourself. And that's why you gotta go through this process over and over and over. Okay, and I think the last tip I can say regarding a teacher is also, as a teacher, you're a student. Okay, that means you learn from what your student's doing, not just you dictating everything. He's screwing up, he's doing something wrong. You got to think, okay, he can't do it. How can I help him to understand what I'm saying, or what drill can I come up with so he can understand? Because one drill, if he can do it already, that's fine. But if he can't, then you may have to come up with a drill to help him understand that. Okay, you can't just say this is a set drill for everything that we do. Either you get it or you don't. All right, so you're always adjusting, you're always learning, you're always listening and observing, and it's probably the best tips I can give you when you're beginning to teach. All right. So day 1, we're doing YGKYM. Usually, when I first started teaching, a long time ago, I'd be concerned, oh, okay, if I do YGKYM, and let's say the class is 2 hours long, okay? First day, brand new noob, he learns the stance, and then 10 minutes into it, he's opened up the stance, and it looks kind of good. You know, in the beginning, I would spend maybe 15, 20 minutes for the guy to do it, because I was worried, oh man, he's gonna get bored. You know, I'm afraid he's gonna get bored and he's gonna leave, right? And that's the thinking at the time. I was like, I want to make sure he learns it, but I want to balance it off properly so he actually gets and understands the art. The way I see it now is, if you're teaching, remember this: you need only one live body to get better. All right, you only need one person to get better. All right, it's kind of like what is that? Star Wars, Sith.
You only need
one. All right, one apprentice, and one master, always. So the way I see it now is, when I have someone new in the stand, in other words, time is valuable. So I want to know if he's gonna last. So a lot of times in the beginning, I'll show him the stance, and even if it's a 2-hour class, for the most part, I'll let him work on the stance alone. If you see someone in the stance and then 10, 15 minutes later you're working with him and he's like, all right, what's next? I guarantee you, he won't last. It's best to cut your losses soon.
Did I ever ask what was next?
Huh?
Did I ever ask what was next? I don't remember.
Unfortunately, you're still here. It didn't work. I mean, if you understand what I'm saying there, right? I mean, I don't want him to waste his time. I don't want to waste my time either. But I want to see if he'll be able to handle the training. Because some people, a lot of times in training, it's not, Wing Chun isn't for everybody, you know? Especially how we teach Wing Chun. People get bored, people want to spar right away, and that's okay. You know, that's what they want to do. Let them spar somewhere else. Let them go get right away to fighting if that's what they're into. But if you want to learn the art, they have to have the patience, or they have to develop the patience to finally get to the skill. All right. So for the most part, I want to see if they'll stand, if they're willing to be able to stand, if they're willing to be able to listen, and you pay attention to the little things that the student does. If he's like, I got it, then make him stand some more until he's like, all right, I've been standing for the stands for the last 2 weeks. Help me get better. Well, then he wants to listen. But if he's like, let's do the next thing, I tell you, those guys, they never last long enough, right?
Yeah.
All right. So you remember, if you're teaching, you want to get better, even if you teach for free, you just need one live body. That's it. All right. All right. So let's, you know, I was deciding how long we're going to make this video. Let's see how long it takes. Okay. All right. Let's have first when you show them, first demonstrate exactly what the student wants to do. For example, I'll show like, okay, this is the stance. I open up the motion, open, open. Okay. I show it to him. In the beginning, when you teach, you have to know what you're showing him or why you're showing it to him. And you may have like a whole list of things. This is the reason you do this. This is the reason you do that. This is the main thing you do that. I tell you, it's okay to tell the student that, because sometimes you have to go over it in your own head. Right? Because you're just starting to teach and you don't know too well. Why does he do this? Okay, this is why I cross the arms and pull the hand back. All right. But in reality, I tell you this, the student, even you talk a lot, he probably only hears one thing for that whole hour or 2 hours, because it's a lot of information to take. So usually give him when you're teaching something, give him something simple. Something simple. You don't have to give him details unless he asks for, why do you do this? But most people won't ask in the beginning. They'll just simply say, okay, I want you, all right, let's start, I want you to just do this, and they'll just follow along and do it. That's fine. Just keep it very simple for them to follow. Because a lot of talk is basically, it helps you out, but in a sense it doesn't really hurt him either, but because he doesn't hear it. It just goes in one ear, out the other. Okay?
Is there any chance of them retaining any of that?
No. There's not.
Okay.
There's not. That's why you say it over and over again. Eventually it'll be like, you know, like Brady Bunch, don't play ball in the house. Mom always said, don't play ball in the house. Mom always said. And then eventually you repeat it so much that it'll finally stick. All right. So if I'm going to, if Danny's here for the first time, I was like, okay, I keep it simple. I say something like, okay, the stance. Okay. Everything that we do is based off the stance. But that's no different from any other martial art. Okay. So just think of it. The main thing YGKYM is for, and I always stress this, you don't have to know the Chinese. Okay. You just say YGKYM, whatever. The main thing for the stance is what? Control and maintain your center of gravity. That's it. Keep it simple like that. He hears it, means absolutely nothing to him. It really will. It won't mean anything. Okay, I get it, balance, you know, like on a trapeze, whatever. It's balance, okay? So when I show him the stance, first I want to say, okay, put your feet together, heels slightly open, and you don't have to tell him why. But if you see something's wrong, you can just be, oh, have this a little straight, feel this here, adjust this point here and here. That's it. Because sometimes hearing it isn't so important. It's actually, they need to feel it, right? Because a lot of times people, if you tell somebody to relax, they don't know what relax is. I tell you, by the time they're already a teenager and older, because of the stress of life in itself, everyone's usually, most of the time, most people are always stressed. So if I ask them to stand straight, they won't know how to stand straight like this. They'll be like very tight when they do it. But you want to be like, okay, just stand straight, be natural, all right? Just be natural. What's natural? Some people be like this, too relaxed, okay? That's no good. So if I'm here, I see how he's looking. I look for his vertical. Sometimes you have to go to the side. I look for his vertical. Okay, you stand this way, Negra. Yeah. So I look for this. Okay, I look for this line here, whether he's leaning back or forward. Okay, and as a teacher, that's what you want to look for. See if he understands what that vertical is in the very beginning. Okay, you can turn around. And the vertical, basically, in the simplest sense, is if the weight's from the heel to the from the heel to the ball of the foot, you want to be dead even on there. You don't want to be on the back of the heel or forward on the front. Okay, so open up your stance again. Just like that. Okay, so you could say, okay, balance. Are you balanced? And more often they'll say, yeah, I'm balanced. But they need a reference point. So a reference point for balance, he has to feel it. You say, why don't you rock back and forth? I want you to reference what leaning forward feels like. I want you to reference what leaning backwards feels like. Okay? So now he actually has an idea. Okay, that's too much in the heel. That's too much forward. And here, I think right now, I feel like I'm in the center. Okay, so right from the get-go, he should be in the center. Okay, and you got to look at it as a teacher right away. After a while, you develop the eye. Even if he's slightly up, I can see it. All right, but in the beginning, you'll be like, he looks. I think he's in the center. All right. In the beginning, you haven't developed the eye yet, so you got to train yourself so you actually can see whether he's in center or not. Okay. So if he's starting off at that point. Right now, I would say, okay, first thing we're going to do, okay, I just want you to follow. If you have any questions, ask, okay? But I tell you, first day, no one ever asks. Actually, a month later, unless you say something, they still don't ask. That's just how people are. Most people aren't that inquisitive as far as saying, oh, why we do this, why we do that, right? They just want to be like, I'll just do it because I'm told to do it, right? That's true. Don't be like that, all right? You be like that, it's no good. All right, so you're standing. So I'd be like, so the next thing I say, all right, I just want you to follow me. I'm going to cross left over right, flip, and then pull back. Okay. Now, you know that the motion is one motion. Okay, that's one motion when you do it in the actual YGKYM stance. But sometimes you might have to break it down. If the person really doesn't have the coordination, this motion could be tough. So I see some people like, you know, or they don't know what left over right is. So if you have to, you make adjustments. If I have to go 1, 2, 3, that's fine. All right. You make adjustments depending on how it is or what the student can handle. Now, if you watch an initial series, right, the beginning of the series of the stance itself, the most important thing, right, you have to know why you're showing every single move. Okay, the crossover is what move from being top heavy to moving the center of gravity to the belly. When you finish off the move here, the main thing of that first section is to get the tension on the neck. Right? To get the right tension on the neck, almost like you're being pulled up. So if I see him do the first motion,
so the first one.
Yeah, 1, flip, pull. Good, that's what I'm looking for. See, now look, why you lean forward? How long you been here?
I've been here forever. I'm never gonna...
Remember, as a teacher, you have to be patient. And sometimes there's no hope. All right, so he finishes his motion. You have to know exactly what he is, where he's at. So I set him in place, right? Right? You ask him, you feel this, you feel the tension here. And when I mean tension, the right tension to hold it, not tension where it's tight. All right, you feel that? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Now, then you make some points. The next motion, the second motion is what? Just bend the knee. But make sure you bend the knee. When you bend the knee, you automatically tuck in. If you automatically will tuck in if your body is relaxed. But if your body is tight, you won't. You'll have to force it in this way. So bend the knee, just bend the knee like this. Good. Now, when you teach that, I'm short on time, so that's why I keep checking here. When you teach that, the most common thing people do when they do that is, when they bend the knee, they don't know how to maintain that center. They'll end up bending the knee and then thrusting this way. I don't know why people thrust that way, but they just do. maybe it's natural.
It could be.
Yeah, but you did have that problem.
I did?
Yeah, you didn't do this way. You went more like this.
I did? The heck's that all about? I don't know if this is mean anything straight.
All right, so make sure when you bend the knee, you maintain that vertical, right? Don't end up leaning back or lean forward. I don't know how you lean forward, but some people do. But make sure you bend the knee and you feel the tuck in, just naturally. Don't emphasize it. Remember, everything we do in Wing Chun is natural. All right? Why? Because if it's natural, the reaction comes out automatically. Okay? So here I look at him, he's still straight. All right? Next thing I want him to do is open up. Okay, good. He opens up just enough. Most people, when they open up, right, they end up opening up, they stick their butt back out. Okay? But right here, from here, I can see that he's maintaining the vertical the entire time. Beginners will not do that. Okay, beginners will not do that. They always end up, they don't stick their butt out like this, they end up not sticking their butt out like this, or they end up hopping themselves to open the stance. All right, this so far he's good. He's still, I'm looking, as a teacher, I'm looking, he's maintaining the line, if everything's relaxing in place. And finally open up again. Okay, now, he opened up. What's the thing I'm looking for? Should be generally shoulder width apart, but that varies from person to person, because if I ask him to open up, he should, I can see right away whether or not he has a center. His center is slightly off. Open up a little wider. Yeah, more natural. Just stand natural like this. Yeah, like that. The direction of the feet are what? In. All right. In the toes, the knees don't go in this way. It just goes in this direction, so that the focus is into the center. All right. Now, right now, if I was to ask a beginner, do you have your center? And he'll be like, yeah, I think I have my center. But they don't know any better. So what do? I have him feel. And when you push against your student, I'm not trying to push to knock him down. I'm pushing so he can feel the path at which it's coming from. I actually turned sideways. Yeah, that's fine. We could either way. So when I'm pushing him, my goal is not to push him back so he leans over. My goal is when I push him back, I want him to feel, or push him downwards so he can feel the path to the center, to the bottom. All right, so as long as I push him here, boom. See, I can see he can grab with his toes, that's good. But a beginner, no matter what, he doesn't know how to hold it, okay? Usually they'll end up trying to push. If he pushes against my fingers, that's no good, because he'll lean forward from that. All right, what I want to do is hold your structure in, or just hold it as is, and then I push slightly. And then what he'll do is he'll start developing a path that when he feels that force, it comes directly here to the ground, from the knee to the heel, then eventually to the center of gravity. That's the path that you're looking for. But if you see, let's say he lifts his head up. He lifts his head up, look, automatically he's leaning back. So you got to know exactly what are the fixes to do that, okay? All right, so right here. Now, once you give him like instructions several times over, practice this, practice this, practice this. Okay, let's say 5, 10, 15 minutes into it, where he's starting, now he finally remembers step 1, step 2, step 3. My suggestion, have him stand, literally. It's like, okay, that looks good. You know what it feels like? All right, have him stand, see first for 5 minutes. Oh, you got it? You feels okay? All right, good, let's stand there. Then you go walk off and go on the internet or something. The best, right? Nice. So why did I make him do that? Because I want to see exactly what he's willing to do. If he's there and he's like, God, he's like this, or he shakes it off and he's already bored. Like I said, it won't last. Won't last. But if he's here trying to figure out, shit, how come I can't get this? And that means he's willing to at least try. All right? Because I tell you, most people never quit because it's too hard. Most people quit because
they're bored.
They're bored.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah. They'll be like, oh, I haven't had anyone yet open up their stance, and the next thing you know, they had their iPhone or something. All right, so 5 minutes pass, I check on them. How's it feel? Is it okay? And usually they won't have the stance, they'll lose it again. But then I correct them again. I don't tell them too much. Relax a little, feel what relax is, shake them off, make sure the position is in place, and then I hear, looks good, okay. All right, try holding it again. walk away, and then work with somebody else. And have them stand. Because literally, the purpose, the whole goal of a student in the first year, I think it really is this. They have to learn to love the stance, okay? If the student falls in love with the stance, there's hope that he can get better. If the student's only interested in fighting, he'll fight. he'll get okay, but that's it. Everything we do is based off this stance. So just have him stand, come back, check him again. How's it feel? You have any questions? Usually there's no questions, but if he has a question, you have to know how to answer him, okay? And then a lot of times, the correction isn't so much, oh, this is the reason we do this is the reason to do that. Only if they ask, then I answer him. Because if I give him that in the beginning, he won't remember it. Unless he asks me, why do we do this? The reason we ask this is to control this, or to open this up, and so forth. All right? But the main thing, once the stance is in place, this is it. From this portion here, from the neck to the L4, L5 here, he's got to maintain this vertical in place. And then from that vertical that he has in place, he's got to find exactly where that is to control it every single time. Okay, that is very key. Okay, now this is teaching, okay? All right, Negron, okay, how long have you been here?
3 years, probably 4 years.
3 years?
Maybe 4 years.
Really?
Maybe 4 years now.
You still here? All right, now, now you're thinking, okay, 4 years, and his stance is good, all right? So why, now this is a little bit of an idea of how much development is involved in it. We're here, okay, let's say we're Chisang, okay, we're goofing off. All right, I just test his stance a little, really back of the heel. He tries to block, he won't block. Why? Because I tested it already, you can see just a little, leaning back of the heel, he's toast. Yeah. That little amount, he has to recognize if he's controlling his center or not. Otherwise, he's in trouble. Okay, look. You try to block. I go slow.
I just backed up.
Yeah, you still back up. You still here. Right? Yeah. You block. How you block this? No. Good. He's blocking this way. Which? Look, his center is leaning forward. Leaning forward, he's in trouble. Right? Block.
So I should have stepped
back. Yeah, you should left. Yeah? Now what?
This way?
Yeah, this way. Hit. Now look at the center. Lean. That way. And the video is hard to see, but it doesn't look like he's leaning. But I can feel, because I'm connected to his center already, that little lean, he's in trouble. Yeah. Now can he get away with it? Yeah, he can get away with it.
Depends on who.
Yeah, he can get away with it if he's leaning, if I suck that bad. But since he's leaning that much, what does he have to use? He has to use the muscle. Yeah. He has to use muscle automatically. But if I retain my vertical and I can support my own hands the entire time, what? My reaction is natural off the point. That's why the stance is hammered over and over and over again. Right? So, just that is an example. Look, I'm not even going so fast, but he can't stop it because what? You don't have that vertical in place, you won't be able to react naturally from it. All right, hopefully this is the first of the teaching edition. If you have questions on teaching on stuff like this, hopefully I've answered some of the key things for that. And next one will be on punch, but I also have to do my friendly video on punch, and I also have to do my season 2 and finish the Chun Q. All right, but you know, I'll do it when I can. All right, bye.